WhiskyJason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American in Germany tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. Today I have something from Germany. It's called Elch Whisky. Elch is the German word for elk, or if we would be in Canada, moose. So let's call it a moose whiskey or an elk whiskey. So, yay. This is a friend of mine. I visited him once, and I've met him at a few different whiskey fairs. Georg Kugler. He is in Franconia, somewhere basically between Frankfurt and Munich if you're on the map. Prague, Frankfurt, and Munich, boom, basically there. And he is a beer brewer. He is a spirit sommelier, and he decided to create his own distillery. Now, the good thing is he makes his own beer. Beer producers are excellent whiskey producers, right? Yeah. And so the very thing is he was very curious and said, I do not want to make a single malt Scotch whiskey in Germany. I want to make a single malt German whiskey in Germany. So he went and looked for peat from Germany. Now, you would think it'd be the easiest thing in the world to find peat in this country, but no. He had to go all the way up to northern Germany to find a peat bog that was not environmentally protected, where they actually still harvested, I'm going to use that word for the peat. And then he went and looked for a malting company to malt this peated malt. And of course, the biggest problem we have is the same thing in Ireland as well as the same thing in Germany is most malting companies will not touch peat with a 10-foot pole. Why? Because if you have peat in your system once, it takes almost forever to get it out. And second of all, you need to have a dedicated line for it. And that's a lot of money, a lot of investment. And there is no real market for peated malt in Germany because we don't have a lot of peated beers. We make beer in Germany, not whiskey, and so you need to have that malt without that peat smoke. Luckily for him, there was one malting company in Belgium that said, hey, we would do it. We would actually do it in special small-sized batches or lots for you, and so he sends his peat from northern Germany, dried peat, down to Belgium. In Belgium, he takes then German barley and they peat it, they smoke it, they have about 32 ppm, and then they send it back over to him. Now, that's a lot of effort to get this special flavor aroma that he wants. Well, first of all, I've had a difficulty though. This is one of these artificial corks, and it's tight. It's not something I can pull out just very, very quickly. Now, this is exactly what he wants. I have seen German guys at Whiskey Fair try this and go, amazing! Finally, a German whiskey that is almost, or if not even better than many of the peated Scotch single malts. That's a statement here, all right? Now, the problem that we have with me is I'm not a peat head. I can drink peat, but I don't appreciate peat. Did you get that fine difference there? I don't spit it out anymore. I drink it and I can evaluate it, but it's not something that I never have a yankering. I never have a longing for a peated whiskey. Not yet in my life. All right, so I visited Georg. I did an interview with him in German, sorry. And I bought this bottle in pendant, but I did get this little sample for free. So he said, hey, I want you to compare the batch 7 with the batch 6. Just this week, batch 8 came out, so I don't have that yet. And he also gave me these glasses. All right, so look at that elk here, those glasses. He likes these glasses. I think they're just like a miniature beer glasses. I'm not really a big fan of them, but I decided to use them for this video. What I'm going to do, WhiskyJason, honest, independent, and socially engaged, is I'm going to actually auction off this part of the 2 glasses and this little sample for charity. And so, hey, it's good to have this comparison here. All right, so I think, oh, one other thing I forgot to mention. We're in Germany, and so Germany has different rules than Scotland does with single malt. We can use woods outside of oak. So this is a very, very important part for what we're doing here. So what Elk Whisky uses actually is acacias, wood as well as ex-sherry, which was oak as well as ex-bourbon. Now, the only thing I have to criticize at the moment with the transparency is I would have loved to have known the composition. Is it 10% acacias? Is it 10% sherry? Is it 80% ex-bourbon or somehow other? Now, I do have the feeling that the batch number 6 is different than the batch number 7 in the amount of fruitiness and the amount of acacious wood that was used here. It has more. I kind of like the 6 better than I do the 7. Now, contrary to many other of the German whiskey bottles I've had in my hand, this is a 0.7 liter bottle. This is 59 euros, so most of the time a good price in Germany for German whiskey is often around the 50 to 60 euros for 0.5 liter. And so this is a very, very nicely priced whiskey. Georg at Elch Whisky does his lots of 1,200 bottles at the moment. All right, so on the nose. Now, if you gave this to me, I would have said this is a peated Highland. It's not really that Islay smoke, but it is a peated Highland smoke. And I know people who have used this whiskey in blind tastings. Here, peated whiskey night, 6 different whiskeys, blah, 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 blah. In the end, this often has won. This has often been 1 or 2. And then they reveal and said, hey, look, this is from Germany. And I was like, no, it's like, yes, it is. Believe us. But Germans can't do peated whiskey. Oh, well, look at this. They can. Give them a chance. They have some good stuff out there. Now, the problem we will have in the world is distribution. Even in Germany, this goes fairly quickly. You can buy it from the shop. I love the shop's name. I have to translate it for you. It's in German. It's kauf-deinen-elch.de, which translates buy your elk.de. Elk Whisky, it's really just buy your elk.de. Very, very de for Deutschland, which is Germany. Beautiful, beautiful name. I must admit that's good. All right, so on the nose. I do get a peaty, I get a very earthiness. Let's not say peat, let's say earth. It's like moldy leaves in the earth that might have been smoldering for the last week or so. There is a citrus moment, there is a salty moment, and there's a light fruity moment. Now, this is 50.2% ABV. This is 52.7. This is batch 6. Batch 8 is also 50.2%. All right, so over here, this is much more of a fruity, woody moment with the peat, with the smoke, with that earthiness. There's a little bit more of a honey here, and here I have a tiny, tiny little bit of a burnt rubber. This I actually like. This I almost like. So you're going to have batch variations. That's what happens when you have very, very small craft distillers. We're above, well, often what happens with craft distillers is they put out 1 barrel. They'll bottle a barrel. And then they will move up to batches. And even the batches will be different. Think of Abelauer Abuna. Yeah, think of Booker's. All right, these are batches. So sometimes you have 60,000 bottles and sometimes you have 600 bottles. And that's where they're at now. And they don't, this is their basically one of the very few products they have in the core range. And it's still batches. It's a small distillery. They're not producing very much. I think it's 200 barrels a year max. All right, so I think MGP can produce 200 barrels in a day. So you get a little bit of the ratio here. Yeah. All right, let's try this. Cheers. I do get a salty, creamy, peaty, ashy, really a lot of ash here. The first thing I tried, the first thing that came to mind was a somewhat stronger big peat from Douglas Lang. You could put this in any lineup with any other Islay whiskeys or peated whiskeys. Balvenie, Weeka Peat, Glenturret, Highland Park, and this would blow it out of the water for the amount of peat in there. Oh, what is the one I hate? Sorry. Legic, I don't like either, but that's not the one I'm thinking about. There's another brand that I just dislike with a passion. It's a Highland peat as well. All right, don't worry. Um, it has a certain sweetness. It has a certain citrus moment. It's the alcohol is very well integrated. I'm going to give this a solid C. Now, if I were a peat head, I might actually give it about C plus, maybe a little bit more, but just this is not the bottle I'd go out and buy again. For me personally, the 59 euros for the 0.7 liter bottle is more of a C minus. Yet, if I were to put it on the German whiskey market, it would actually be a B. We are so small in the production that so much, every label is labeled by hand, every bottle is bottled by hand, and so on, that it's a totally different system. It's much, much, much more expensive to do this. And so there's not this, the economies of scale yet. And so this bottle in the German market would actually be this is a bargain in Germany. A good tasting whiskey for an okay price is almost unheard of in Germany at the moment. So I'm still going to give only a C. Will you find it outside of Germany? I think La Maison de Whisky in Paris will be getting bottles maybe. Over to the UK or to the States, no. States definitely not. The UK, who knows what's going to happen in the future. I wish Georg and his team all the best, that they can ramp up production, that they can continue doing. It's a family company. They have a beer garden, they have a brewery, and this is basically one of those passionate hobby types of projects that they're doing. And you should see him at the whiskey fairs. Georg is 2.5 days of just, he has a smile on his face. He's meeting people. He's toasting with them. He's sharing his passion for whiskey, and that's the way it should be, right? All right, very, very good. So batch number 6. There has to be more sherry. There has to be more acacias in this, and the smoke is there, but not as ashy. I like the 6 much better than I do 7. My personal opinion. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for subscribing. Thank you very much for sharing. Type in ELCH Whiskey, Elch Whisky. They're the only one that's called that, I think. And you will find more information in German. Use Google Translator, whatever you need to do to find out more, and ask. Maybe they might send a bottle overseas. I don't know. Let's see how customs works that out. Thank you very much for all your support. Question of the day is, what is your favorite not Scotch smoky whiskey? Which whiskey, which is not from Scotland, that is smoky peated, is your favorite? Is it a peated smoky bourbon? Is it an Irish? Is it a Japanese? Is it a German? What is it? Connemara 12 was pretty nice. I liked. I think Eric Waite hated that whiskey, but that's one of my opinions at this moment. All right, thank you very much. All the best. See you soon. Bye-bye.